Just a quick episode to validate those of you who are asking, Amie, what do I do about those friends, family, and even clergy that just want to stay neutral? They don't want to take sides. They just want to stand on the sidelines. Let's talk today about Switzerland people.
You're listening to the Empowered Divorce Podcast, where you practice being the chooser in your life again, one day at a time. Thanks for joining me.
Hello, my amazing, beautiful listeners. Okay, I feel this one so much in my body. Every time I get an email about this, it's like my jaw gets tight, my hands get clenched up, I feel a little bit hot. And the longer that I notice it, it makes sense why. It makes sense why those of you who are experiencing this with friends and family might also be noticing something show up in your bodies when you think about the absolute invalidation of not only what you have and are experiencing, the lack of support, but also how it can feel as if it is so discounting of your character and how you showed up in your marriage, of how you show up in life. I get how when others who divorce, and it's because they decide that they have just such irreconcilable differences that they just don't want to choose to be together anymore. They don't hate each other. They can still be amicable. They still work together. They just don't choose to be with each other anymore for various number of reasons. Yeah, that's not the divorce that you're having. You did not choose the demise of your marriage. You did not cause the betrayal, abuse, or addiction. You did everything that you could to try for both of you to make things work, probably to the point of self-destruction. So when you see that there are those who are not taking sides, who are staying neutral on the sidelines, watching you suffer, struggle, and continue to be abused, mistreated, lied about, there might feel as if there is a war stirring up inside of you. I believe one of the most deeply hurtful parts of these situations, besides the secondary betrayal that's happening here, is that your reality was already jacked up, right? Like what you believed was real was already effed with. And then when you begin to realize that what you believed is now a lie, and then your new reality is not being believed by others, it can make you question yourself, doubt yourself. It can intensify the already intense emotions and psychological abuse that has occurred. Those who've studied trauma have learned that when witnesses to injustice do nothing, it's a greater source of distress for sufferers than the act of the brutality itself. This is because neutrality is a form of deep invalidation. When we experience invalidation of our human experience from other humans, it sends a message to the survival parts of our brain that we aren't valued or worth protecting. This lack of safety then creates pressure under which the human mind eventually will either implode or explode, usually a little bit of both. My beating the dead horse efforts to plead, beg with my in-laws and others to believe me, to get him help, to see the truth just came out sideways in anger, in desperation, in panic. When they insisted on staying neutral or invalidating my experience and my knowing. When this happens to you, it further harms your brain and your nervous system. Clearly, it also results in this disintegration of any bonds that you might have had with these people, these friends, these family members, any connections or safety you felt in your church community. It is even more of a disillusion of trust with others. You feel more isolated, abandoned. When this support is needed at the most, when this part of you believed that it would be available and it wasn't, these kinds of psychological experiences you are already having are now intensified and can absolutely exacerbate symptoms of PTSD. I've talked about complicated grief before, and the neutrality of family members can add a layer of ambiguity to the grief process, making it that much harder to find closure and to reconcile the loss with the need for that support and understanding so desperately when you have experienced what you've experienced. Switzerland, right? Like the actual country Switzerland over centuries has been considered the quintessential example of neutrality because for that long-standing policy that they have had to not participate in any armed conflicts between other states, right? That's why we joke around and why we use that term Switzerland as neutral. And as important as it is to help out children to stay neutral by not pulling them onto sides, right? We don't want to sway them. That can backfire. They will have to access the agency to do so with their other parent in their own time. And as important as it is for even family and friends to support the neutrality with kids and parents, this does not mean that we dismiss, discount, ignore, minimize, rationalize, justify your experience of destructive, abusive behavior, of infidelity, of betrayal, of trauma. It does not discount it. I've talked about this before in previous episodes around children, and this is deeply personal choice on how you validate destructive behaviors without throwing the other parent under the bus, how you empower them to not tolerate this type of behavior in their lives from anyone, and helping them to see that there is a line that can be crossed until they can more fully, with fully developed brains, draw that line for themselves. You, as their parent, must help them draw lines that clearly mark the difference between abuse and not, healthy and destructive. And we have to do that so carefully, again, without trying to pull them and make them feel like they're being in a tug of war. I've heard a lot of kids express that's how they feel. They feel very much in a tug of war. Helping our kids stay neutral and staying neutral in that respect is one thing. But then when you have fully developed human brains who know your character, who know your integrity, who also know more about what you have experienced in terms of the abuse, in terms of the control, the infidelity, all of that type of behavior, and they stay neutral, again, I just want to validate those of you who are experiencing this, the anger that can come, the resentment, the deep sense of not only feeling so out of control and not knowing what to do and who to turn to and who to trust. It is all a very real and equally tragic experience. I get it. I've been there. It hurts. It's confusing. And like I said before, it makes you question your reality all over again. Besides the validation that I want to give you, I also want to leave you a few things to consider that will help you get into more of that empowerment. First, meet with someone who gets it. Build support. Meet with a support system. Those who believe you, those who do hear you and see you and can help you to increase your own knowledge around what you have experienced. The more you learn this foreign language that your body has known for a while, to which you are now just cognitively learning about, it's going to help you own your own experience and the truth of it. Validating yourself first is what counts. It's what's sustainable. One of the ways that my clients do this is taking the relationship dynamic assessment, where it takes you through all 8 different domains of the relationship. It's an intensive assessment that walks you through different questions in each one of those categories to help you identify the truth of your experience, to help you become aware of what you have gone through so that you can validate this for yourself first. Again, that is what is sustainable validation. Having support with the right people right now who can help you when you're still learning about this foreign language. I didn't know what gaslighting looked like. I didn't know the term. I didn't realize how I was being manipulated or how I was so desperately seeking outside approval from other people about my pain in order for me to fully believe my pain. Learning more about the language of abuse, the tactics, the methods, the techniques creates a sense of ownership. You now will own your new language to your experience. The second thing you can do is have boundaries. As much as it's painful and not fair, not talking about your experience, not talking about your soon to be or ex with those who are neutral, who are dead set on being Switzerland, that might be a healthy way for you to protect your nervous system right now. Your central nervous system needs so much protecting. And when we are seeking for people to be on our side, to validate our pain, to validate our experience, and they refuse to, they want to stay neutral, notice what it's doing to your central nervous system. Notice how it's pulling you out of that window of tolerance and ability to feel your own feelings because we're back in that trauma response. You might need to limit the information that you share and set very clear expectations for yourself, how you will handle these situations when they arise. Remember, families have their own issues of origin. They might feel it's very imperative to protect the family name, and divorce to them taints that. Or they might believe that they are the ultimate example of a perfect family, a righteous family, a Christian family, the town family, right? Whatever this ultimate example of perfect family is that they have identified with, and you just blew that up. Makes sense why they want to stay Switzerland. Perhaps you're exposing their own very deep, dark secrets and experiences that they are determined to keep hidden, not talk about, not expose, not look at and see. And you speaking up is exposing it. And them hearing you, believing you, means that they have to look at themselves. So staying Switzerland helps them to hide those deep, hidden secrets. The point is, there is a very high likelihood that their neutrality has nothing to do with you. It's all about them, their own trauma, their own pain and injury that they are not ready to look at and pick up themselves. So they cannot look at yours and support you. Include boundaries around your business. What's your business, their business, and God's business, as Byron Katie puts it. Stay in your business as you need to in order to move through this. Because the more you get caught up in theirs and what they're thinking about you, once again, it's taking you out of what you've got to do more than anything right now. And that is get your central nervous system, get parts of you to calm, to ease, to ground, to center. The last suggestion that you can do in this situation, if you're wanting to keep the relationship open with friends and family who are remaining neutral, is maybe just writing a letter where you clearly identify the topics that, you're not going to talk about. Make very clear requests around how you'd like them to support you in ways that do benefit the neutral stance that they're taking, which maybe is asking them to show up for the kids. All right, if you insist on being a neutral between me and what's going on with your son or my ex, our friend, whatever, if you want to stay neutral, then will you please support the children? Making the kids the priority and where they can focus their attention on right now can be a great request for those who you're not ready to cut out of your life or block out. You still see a sense of value that they can have in the lives of your children. This is going to require you to have those personal boundaries where, all right, when I drop off kids to grandma's house and grandma wants to be Switzerland, I'm not going to talk to her about what's going on in my relationship or what the latest news is on the divorce, but her role is in the kids' lives. And that's so important for the children. And y'all, I understand the level of emotional maturity that this takes. That is what I'm inviting you to consider and step into as having an empowered divorce. It requires a level of emotional maturity to know that your children perhaps need certain people in their life to help them while they are not emotionally mature, and they need people in their life who love them and can look and see and hear and be with them and validate them. You can show up for them. I can almost guarantee that the other parent might not be doing this. So you take your emotional maturity and you put it to work and you put it to use. You can ask them to watch your kids for a few hours. And while they're tending to the kids and the kids are getting the nurturance that they need for their own emotional development, you now have some time to maybe do the divorce papers or do some things that you need to take care of you. So utilizing these Switzerland people can also be very empowering. You can step into, all right, I can't control whether or not they take sides. If they're choosing to stay neutral, and I'm not ready to cut them out of my life because I see that there's still value somewhere in this relationship, especially for the kids, then I can step into my empowerment and strategize and use this for my good, for the betterment of my children. Children go over here and play. They're being cared for, and I get to go home and self care or work on divorce or whatever that looks like, right? Strategize your support. You have support with those who will validate you, and you have support with those for those that love your kids, most likely don't want to lose touch with those kids. So you can strategize those who want to help and make it work for you and the kids. You don't need them to validate or believe you and take your side in order for you to have an empowered divorce. Your validation is not in the acceptance of others, but in the strength of your own conviction, your own truth, your own story. Believe in your story so fiercely that the disbelief of others only fuels your resolve to rise and to thrive. Because empowerment begins the moment you realize that your worth does not depend on anyone else's acknowledgement. Because you are the chooser of your healing, your path, and the way that you handle Switzerland. Because you can. Take care, everybody. If you want to learn more about the relationship dynamic assessment that I was talking about today, head over to the link in the show notes and check out the video I created just for you that tells you how you can access this assessment. Many of you who are divorcing or divorced from betrayal and don't have that closure because you never got full disclosure of truth. Yet your body knows the truth and your lived experience, and it's imperative to your healing that you're able to see it, give it that language, accept it, and validate it, especially if you don't want to repeat those behaviors. Again, head over to the show notes and click the link for a special video message just for you. See you soon.
I was made to dream that anything can be my own. I have found my home. Today will be the day, it all will change. No one's in my way. Today will be the day.